When HR told me there was no proof, they weren't accusing me. They were closing the door. So I didn't argue. I didn't get emotional. I opened my folder. It all started with a pattern. Small issues. But they happened so often that they stopped feeling accidental. My instructions would change at the last minute. My responsibilities would shift without warning. And when something went wrong, the blame would move quietly, almost invisibly. My name kept appearing near the bottom of the email chain, conveniently positioned as the final touch point. So, I did what you're supposed to do. I went to HR. They listened politely. They nodded in all the right places. They even took notes. And then they said it. The sentence that feels like a brick wall. We understand your concern, but we don't have any proof. Notice what they said. Not that it didn't happen. Just that it couldn't be verified. What that really meant was no documentation, no timestamps, no written approvals. In their world, my problem was invisible. And invisible problems, well, they don't require action. It's a clean, simple way to make a problem disappear without actually solving it. My job was unique. I was the bridge between different teams. I handled handoffs, approvals, and all the follow-ups. This gave me a front row seat to where things were breaking down, long before leadership even had a clue. And when they did break, the responsibility often landed squarely on whoever touched it last. And more often than not, that was me. I started noticing a very specific tactic. Instructions were always given verbally. Key decisions were made in passing, in the hallway or over a quick chat. But the blame, that was always assigned letter in writing. It was a clever game. The same people would actively avoid putting anything in an email until something went wrong. Tensodenly, everything was documented in painstaking detail. Everything except the part where they had given the initial approval. Their fingerprints were nowhere to be found. I knew arguing was pointless. So I started building something. It didn't happen overnight. It grew quietly, one small piece at a time, right there in a folder on my desktop. Inside, I collected everything. Emails confirming verbal instructions I'd just received, calendar invites showing who attended which meetings, my own meeting notes, which I started sending out as summaries after every single call. Screenshots of internal messages. There was nothing illegal in there. Nothing scandalous or hidden, just records. Cold, hard facts. It was a simple system of accountability. After HR's initial response, I didn't escalate or complain. I just adjusted my process. Every single conversation was now followed by a summary email. Hi John, just to confirm our chat, we've agreed to move forward with X, and I'll be waiting for Y from you. Every decision was confirmed in writing. Every change was acknowledged. I wasn't being accusatory. I was just being clear. My new motto was, if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. A few weeks later, another issue surfaced. A big one. This time something was different. HR reached out to me. They wanted clarity. We all got into a meeting room, and like a recurring nightmare, they repeated the same line. We still don't have any proof of what went wrong. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone was looking at me. I took a breath. I didn't raise my voice. I just asked a simple question. Would you like to see what I have? Then I shared my screen. I calmly walked them through the entire sequence of events. Here's the initial request. Here's the email where the approval was confirmed. Here's the project timeline we all agreed to. And here's the outcome. Each step had a date. Each decision had a name attached to it. There were no opinions, no emotions. Just the undeniable sequence of events. The room went quiet. The person from HR who had been typing furiously suddenly stopped. They leaned in closer to the screen. They asked me to slow down. They started asking follow-up questions. But this time, the questions weren't for me. They were about the documents I was showing them. Then, they said something I'll never forget. This helps. It was a simple phrase, but it changed everything. In the weeks that followed, things started to shift. Policies were reviewed, internal processes were clarified and strengthened, and those certain behaviors from certain people, they just quietly stopped. There was no public apology, no company-wide announcement, but accountability suddenly appeared where it hadn't existed before. The blame game was over. The proof had always been there. It just hadn't been organized. It was scattered across dozens of emails, chats, and calendar invites. But once it was gathered and presented as a clear, logical story, it couldn't be dismissed anymore. The narrative was no longer mine to defend. It was theirs to confront. So, here's the takeaway. When a system, a manager, or an HR department tells you there's no proof, it doesn't always mean you're wrong or that you're imagining things. It often just means the story hasn't been documented yet. They are telling you exactly what they need to see in order to act. I didn't win by arguing. I didn't win by getting emotional. I won because I opened my folder, and soothingly there was all the proof anyone needed. If you've ever been in a situation like this, know that documentation is your best friend. Be meticulous, be consistent, and be unemotional about it. Build your folder. You might be surprised at how quickly an invisible problem becomes very, very visible. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content on navigating the challenges of the modern workplace. See you in the next one.